The way to get rid of tension is to do just the opposite of all the things that cause it.
Okay, hello guys, this is Hugo from Ichiban Painting. Today I'm just going to be showing you how I clean my airbrush when I'm done finishing. Okay, if I'm changing colors, what I'll do is actually I'm going to have my, depending on what the color is, if it's a color that it's in the same range, I'll just like put some water in it until there's no more water and shoot at the same time, like here, right so. Okay, look, make sure that when you're doing this that the water is not going to go in the trigger here area. You don't want to have water there because this is your valve. What's going to happen is that if you have water here, the air doesn't come through the paint, the air comes through the bottom of the airbrush if you saw my previous video. So meaning that if you have water here, then you're going to have water spraying down your, mixing with your air, which is not good. But if I'm just changing color, what I'll do is I'm just going to make sure that the airbrush, there's nothing in the cup. Now there's still color in the cup on the side, but that I'll just wipe it out. But I make sure that there's no color in the bottom of the cup. Hold on a second, you cannot really see it well, but there's no more color in the bottom of the cup. So that's the first step I do if I'm just changing color. If I'm not changing color, I'm just gonna spend a little bit more time by shooting and moving my needle to make sure that there's nothing in the trigger. Also, sometimes if I'm gonna change color, what I like to use, if I'm not gonna change color and I'm stopping using the airbrush, I like to put hot water, okay, in it, because the hot water is gonna actually help the airbrush to clean itself and get nice. Don't put hot water in the airbrush when you're gonna be using it right after, because you might create condensation inside. So if you create condensation inside the airbrush, it might not help you when you're doing your project. Okay, so the other thing I like to do is once I just did the previous step that I showed you, I like to go in, take my airbrush cleaner, put the airbrush cleaner in the cup, straight up, use my bottle that I explained in one of the videos how to make it. It's a catcher bottle, and I just like to go in and just shoot and empty the whole. Hold on, I'll put my mask because this stuff is nasty. I just like to empty the whole cup with the airbrush cleaner, just to make sure that everything is empty, and that this helps clean the nozzle a little bit more thoroughly. Okay, now this is the part where it's a little bit more not tricky, because it's not difficult, but it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt because it takes time. You know, airbrushing, it's one of the downsides is that you can paint faster, but you always have to take care of your airbrush. So basically, let me see if we're still focused and everything. Yes. So basically what you want to do is you want to take your airbrush apart. Every airbrush is different, but you know, most of them are the same. The Infinity and the Harder and Steenbeck, the good thing is that the needle and the nozzle come out. So I like to take my needle from the front. I never do that normally, but I like to take it out from the front. As to why, is because if you look in the cup, okay, let me see if we can zoom in. If you look in the cup, normally, hold on. Normally the needle is here, right? There's a little hole in the back here for the needle to go in through, right? So when the needle is in like this, if the needle has some paint, normally here it's a really hard place to access and clean, and normally there's no paint in this area of the body. So if you take your needle out backwards with paint in it, it's gonna leave paint in that little thing, the assembly here. Compared to if you take your needle out from the front, no part where there's not already paint in it is going to be affected by it. So this is a little bit trick I could give you, but this trick will only work if you're running an airbrush that has a nozzle that can be taken, you know, away. So the first thing I like to do when I do this, hold on, readjust my setup, is I like to put some airbrush cleaner on the towel. And then I just want to clean up my my needle, just like so, being very gentle, always doing it. If I do the full motion, I always do it here. You never want, if you want to brush it like this, you can brush it, but when you go to the tip, you just do it one time. Don't start doing this because the tip might go in the towel and then bend. You really need to be careful of your tip. and you really need to handle the needle carefully. Then I leave my needle here and I put it carefully away. Then after that, the best thing that I like to use is those little Q-tip thingy. So the harder in Steenbeck, the other good thing is that you have a separate cup, and so it's really easy because the cup normally is a pain in the butt to clean, but then you can leave it on the side and clean it later. So what I like to do is that normally if you put airbrush cleaner in this type of airbrush right now, it's all gonna run down because the nozzle is open. But if you have an airbrush type that has a nozzle, it's easier for you. But if you don't, what I like to do is I like to hold it, put my finger here to block the exit so that the liquid is actually gonna stay inside. Then I take my Q-tip with the liquid and I just go brush the area. So why? Because the acrylic paint sometimes has a tendency to stick really fast and to start drying really fast. So the longer you work with your paint, the worse it's gonna be. So by doing this, then you're gonna make sure that you're scratching off the paint that might be. Then you take this Q-tip and you throw it away because it's not good anymore. Then you want to go in with a clean Q-tip and just rub off everywhere that you think that you might have some paint. And if you're working with a paint like blue or something like that, then it's gonna be easier for you to notice if you have still some on your Q-tip. Now there's just a little bit of tint of blue, so I switch on the other side and I check it, and now there's no more blue. Some airbrushes have more difficult cup to clean. For example, this one has a square cup inside. Not square, but you see it's a rounded rectangular shape thingy. The edges make it a little bit more difficult. Plus this is the way the CNC cut it. It has some strides in the bottom of the cup, so it has a tendency to catch paint more. These ones are smooth and rounded, so it's really easy to clean up. Then I want to go in here in the nozzle part where the nozzle goes, and as you can see here there's some paint, so I just want to go in again with my thing. And here there's a thread, so what I like to do is put the Q-tip here like this and then put it on the side and then rub it, so just to make sure that there's nothing in my nozzle. And then I take another Q-tip, put some airbrush cleaner in it, and then do the same thing again. Just turn it around, make it sure that nothing is blue on my airbrush, and basically that's pretty much clean. I'll check it out later, but for the video let's say it's clean. Then go on to your nozzle and thingy. If you have an airbrush that the nozzle is really hard to take out, you have to use a tool for taking out the nozzle, I would not recommend using this technique. It might be a little bit tricky, but this one, the nozzle comes out really easily, as you can see here. Just make sure I'm in frame. So what I like to do is take an old needle, and as you can see there's a shit ton of paint right now, so I like to take the old needle in the nozzle and just work it out, so make sure that the paint is actually I'm taking off the paint or actually loosening it up so it doesn't stick. Then I put some airbrush cleaner and I still repeat the same thing with my old needle, turn it around and move it, work it. Then once this is done, normally if there's no paint on my needle, I just leave it like that, but now there's a lot of paint on my needle, so what I'll do is I'll go under the sink and do the same operation until it's clean and to my liking. And then the last part, if you have a harder in Steenbeck, normally in the nozzle cap protector or nozzle protector, here you won't have paint. You can check it out, but normally there's no paint. You might have paint on the exterior, so you just clean it off. And on the needle guard like this, you might have some paint, but this is, you just take it off and clean it out. But basically that's it. The important areas where you need to make sure that your airbrush is clean and everything is all right is gonna be in your main cup, in the nozzle part where the nozzle connects, and in the nozzle itself. You just want to make sure that these areas don't have paint in it at all. A lot of people, what they can do is that they buy an ultrasonic cleaner. That's actually really great. It does clean well. When you have an airbrush like an Harder and Steenbeck, it could mean some problems because there's a lot of seals. There's a O-ring here, there's a seal here, there's a O-ring in there, there's many O-rings on this particular airbrush. So by putting it in a ultrasonic cleaner, sometimes the problem is that, you know, it actually eats up the seal, so you're gonna have to change them more. But basically that's it. So I hope you like the video. If you have question on your airbrush, just, you know, let me know, and I'll reply to the best of my knowledge. And this was Hugo from Ichiban Painting. I'll see you on the next video.